Okay, so this is a lesson for Module 6, sorry. It's called Improving Fluency Through Partner Reading. The objective of today's lesson is going to be student is able to identify key components of a text after multiple readings. So you'll be able to pick out pieces of our story. The student will be able to identify and discuss reading errors in appropriate level text. So this text is appropriate to your level, so you'll be able to identify different kinds of errors, okay?
Harry Potter's not appropriate?
It is appropriate, but it's a little bit higher than your reading level.
No, it isn't. I read it all the time.
All right. Student will be able to discuss the benefits of multiple readings of the same text. Okay?
Same?
Yep, we're going to read this text. I'm going to read it, and then you're going to read it.
The whole book?
No, just up to a certain point that I have. So to be able to do this, you have to have basic reading skills, knowledge of multiple decoding strategies to help with unfamiliar words. Yeah, you do. You know how to break apart words to sound them out and stuff like that. Large pool of sight words and some understanding of reading fluency, which we've worked on all of those before. It's a first grade level lesson. The materials that we need is the level appropriate text, which we have, highlighters, which we are using pens for students to mark errors, cue cards to remind students of their tasks as the reader and as the listener, as well as provided prompts for the listener to use in correcting errors, which I'll go over that when we get there, okay? And then there's comprehension questions related to the assigned text. Okay? All right. The suggested time should be about 25-30 minutes. Might be a little quicker, might be a little longer. Recommended group size is obviously it's going to be paired reading groups, so it'll be like me and you.
What if it's quicker? Do we have to take another one?
No, Liv. Focus on what I'm saying and not what you want to hear, okay? So the recommended group size is obviously pairs of groups. So it'd be us and then all the other students would have different pairs, okay? All right, so that's today's lesson. That's what we're going to be working on. And before we move on, I'm going to talk to you about what partner reading is. So what this is it's going to be me and you. We're going to be reading a text that is appropriate to your level because I'm the stronger reader out of the two of us, but you are still learning to read. So we're going to read along your text and I'm going to help you read it. Okay. My job, or I'm going to read it first. So I'll be the reader and then you're going to be the listener. Okay. And as the listener, what your job is going to be is to listen to see if I make any kind of errors. Okay.
I don't know what an error is.
An error, I'm going to talk to you about what the errors are. Okay. And then after you listen for the errors, then we'll talk about them and then we'll switch. Okay. So you'll be the reader and I will listen to errors. And then we'll talk about errors that you might make.
What will we read?
We're going to read out of the text here.
So someone's going to read the whole book?
Nope. We're going to read to a certain point. Then you'll mark any errors if you catch any. And then you'll read to the same point that I did.
We're technically reading to that, but just going until we stop
at a certain point. Yep, that's right. Here, I'm going to bring you a little closer.
Closer.
Yep, so they can see you. You need to sit up so they can see. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go back and forth like that. And then when we get all done from me reading it and you reading it, we're going to answer some comprehension questions, okay? To make sure that we understand the reading. Okay, but before we can do that, before we can be the listener, we have to understand the different kinds of errors that can be made, okay? So I've written down the 4 different errors that come up most often, and you are going to help me identify them, okay? So there's 4 big errors that happen when we're reading, right? We can say the wrong word. So when you're reading, you can say the wrong word instead of what's actually on the page, right?
Like when I was trying to read comprehension?
Yeah, so you can say the wrong word, or you can stop and get stuck for longer than 4 seconds. So if you get stuck on a word for longer than 4 seconds, It'll count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. And if I'm still stuck, then you would say that word. You'd help me with that word, or I'll help you with that word, okay? The next kind of error that can be made is you can skip a word. So if you're just reading and you're reading and you skip over it.
It's not the best strategy, but it does help because if you skip a word.
Well, if you skip it on purpose, that's different.
But if you skip it.
But if you skip it on accident, or if you just don't read it, then that's an error.
It isn't a strategy that you can make. Can I tell you the strategy?
Yeah, I understand the strategy. I know you can skip it on purpose and then come back to it.
Can I use those strategies?
You can use that strategy, but I'm going to, for this lesson that we're doing right now, I'm going to count it as an error, okay? Because we're trying not to skip on purpose. So I would prefer that you try to sound out the word, okay?
I've eyes of a hawk, so I won't skip much.
Yes, don't skip words unless you do it on accident. If you do it on accident, that's fine. It's just an error, and we'll go over it together, okay? But if you skip it on purpose, I don't want to use that strategy right now, okay?
You might have to make 2 errors.
No, I won't have to make 2 errors. Anything that you do skip, I'm going to count as an error. So try not to do it on purpose, okay? I would prefer you try and sound it out and get stuck, and then I can help you. Okay?
It's probably the worst strategy.
Yeah. It's okay when you're just learning how to read, but for this lesson, I don't want to use that at all. Okay? And then there's a 4th kind of error, besides skipping, is when you add words that aren't on the page.
Like if you accidentally say the wrong word.
No, that's the wrong word.
Or like
if you add a new word that's not on the paper at all.
Like if it's like saw and
we're gonna do some examples, okay? So you can see what they all look like. So this first one, you're gonna tell me if I say the wrong word, okay? So I'm gonna read that first sentence, and you tell me if I said a wrong word, okay? The fish was swimming outside in the lake.
No. Wrong.
What error did I make?
You made lake. It's supposed to be pond.
So that would be that kind of error. I said the wrong word. I said lake instead of pond. Nope, I'm going to do them all. You're going to point them all out to me, okay? So I said lake instead of pond. That'd be an error, right?
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to keep looking for the errors. So this second one, you're looking for me to get stuck longer than 4 seconds, okay? So if I get stuck longer than 4 seconds, you say, here, let me help you with that. And then we'll go through the word, okay? You ready?
How I help people is I sound out all of the letters, because if you just tell them, they don't learn anything. They just make them on purpose and say it was an accident.
Yeah, that can happen. All right, so you're looking for me to get stuck for longer than 4 seconds, okay? So if I start getting stuck, you start counting in your head and see if I get stuck longer than 4 seconds. I ate all of the apples in the
Let me help you with that.
in
the
orchard. All right, now I'll read that one more time now that you've helped me. I ate all of the apples in the orchard.
That's a lot of apples.
It's a lot of apples. Thank you for your help. All right, so now this next error that we're going to identify is skipping a word. Okay?
But are you doing these on purpose or on accident?
I'm doing these on purpose so you can identify what kind of error it is, okay?
Okay.
All right, so listen for a skip. See if I skip anything. The lawn took a long time to mow.
No.
What error did I make?
You made an error by doing the lawn took a very long time to mow.
Oh, I skipped right over that very, didn't I?
You have to look close so you can try next time to just look close. And a strategy that you can use is to put your finger
Oh, use a pointer finger. That's a good idea. I'll try that next time. Okay, so this last kind of error that we're looking for is when I add an extra word, okay? I rode my bike all the way down the very long street.
That is not the right word. It's big. It needs an E at the end for bike.
Oh, that's a spelling error. That one's, that's not the error we're looking for. So we're looking for,
Could you write again?
yep, we're looking for when I add a word into the sentence, okay? I rode my bike all the way down the long street.
No, you made an error.
What error did I make?
I made that. I made doesn't make sense.
No, I said I rode.
Said
I said I rode my bike all the way down the long street.
No. That's way.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, you said long. You have to say, I rode my bike the way down the street. You can't make a different word, even if it means the same thing. You have to, it's not on the page. You gotta say what the word actually means.
Okay, I know what you're trying to say, Olivia, but that's not the error that I'm making, okay? So the error that I'm making is you need to listen for a word that's not in this sentence, okay? So follow along with me because I'm adding a new
word. Wasn't in the sentence. That's
it is, but that's not where I added it. You ready? Listen for when I added, okay? I rode my bike all the way down the long street.
You added long. It's just I rode my bike all the way down the street. There's no long. It's not on the page.
Exactly. So I added a word, so that would be an error. So you're going to listen for that when we're reading the book, okay?
Okay.
So now we're gonna read through our text, okay? And I'm gonna read for it first. You'll listen for errors if I make any, and then we'll talk about
I
them.
know another strategy that isn't really strategy, but it will help.
I'm gonna have you keep these so you know what kind of errors to listen for, okay? Just keep them in your lap. You don't need to look at them. And remember, I wrote down our jobs. I put them on little cards here so you can see our jobs. The reader job is to read aloud. The first reader reads aloud the designated section of text at an appropriate rate, okay? So I'll read the text at a good rate so we can both understand it and you can look for errors. And the listener job, that's you this time, okay, before we switch. So the listener listens along to the reader works through the designated section of the text. Use your highlighter, which we're going to use these pens.
Because we don't have a highlighter?
Yep. Use your highlighter to mark any errors in words that are said incorrectly or skipped, or words that are added or take longer than 4 seconds.
But that's my book.
Yep. Let's not worry about whose book it is. Let's focus on what I'm saying, please.
No, you want me to write?
No, you're just gonna mark on your paper when you hear an error, and we'll go over it, okay? And here's how you correct me, okay? I wrote them down so you can remember them. Here is a word that I underlined. The word is blank. Let's read the sentence together.
So I have to write the word?
Hmm?
Do I have to write the word?
Yep, you will write the word if I skip it or if I use it incorrectly or if it takes me too long. Any of those errors we talked about, if any of those happen, you'll write which word I struggled with, okay? And I'm going to try not to do it on purpose. But if I do it on accident, you'll try and catch me, okay? I noticed you skipped over the word blank. Let's go back and reread the sentence again. All right, so those are the two prompts we're going to use. And we're going to read all the way up until you get to this page, okay?
Because there's no words on it?
Well, just because this is a good spot. There's plenty of words in here. There's a lot of words that you might not know that you might, so we can work through the errors that might occur, okay? So I'm going to read it first. So you're going to want to follow along, make sure I'm reading correctly. And I'm going to stop there, and then we'll go over any errors I might make,
If
okay?
you make the wrong word or say the wrong word?
If I say the wrong word, if I say...
There's something on my teeth. It feels all crunchy.
Don't worry about it. If I add an extra word, if I skip a word, if I stall for 4 seconds, or if I say the wrong word, okay? So read along with me. I want you to follow along. Pay attention.
Can't just read in my head
You can read, no, yeah, don't read it out loud with me. I just want you to follow along,
because
make
then
sure.
you'll know.
No, it doesn't matter. I just need you to pay attention to where I'm reading
Okay.
so you see if any errors happen. Okay, so just read the page in your head or just listen to me and follow along with your eyes, okay? You ready? It was late one fall in Halloween land, and the air had quite a chill. Against the moon a skeleton sat, alone upon a hill. He was tall and thin with a bat bow tie. Jack Skellington was his name. He was tired and bored in Halloween land. Everything was always the same.
No errors. Good job.
Keep it keep it to yourself and just mark it on your paper if an error happens. Don't be sad. Just keep following along, okay? Just listen for any errors. I'm sick of the scaring, the terror, the fright. I'm tired of being something that goes bump in the night. I'm bored with leering my horrible glances, and my feet hurt from dancing those skeleton dances. I don't like graveyards, and I need something new. There must be more to life than just yelling, boo!
I got lost on that page a
It's
little.
okay, just pay attention. Then out from a grave with a curl and a twist came a whimpering, whining, spectral mist. It was a little ghost dog with a faint little bark, and a jack-o'-lantern nose that glowed in the dark. It was Jack's dog Zero, the best friend he had, but Jack hardly noticed, which made Zero sad. All that night and through the next day, Jack wandered and walked. He was filled with dismay. Then deep in the forest, just before night, Jack came upon an amazing sight. Not 20 feet from the spot where he stood were three massive doorways carved in the wood. He stood before them completely in awe, his gaze transfixed by one special door. Entranced and excited with a slight sense of worry, Jack opened the door to a white, windy flurry. And that's where we're going to stop, okay? Did you hear any errors? Did I make any kind of errors in there?
No, I didn't
No,
hear
you didn't hear any? All right, so I read that pretty well, huh? So I got through it. I read it at a good rate. I didn't make any errors.
It's your turn.
All right, so now it's going to be my turn. I'm going to listen, okay? And don't feel bad if you see me writing something or if I mark something. We'll just go over it together, okay?
I read this, so I know what it is. How's that gonna work? Because I heard you read it.
I know you're supposed to have a better understanding after I read it, okay? All right, put it up here so I can follow along with you.
It was late one fall on Halloween land, and the air had quite a chill. Against the moon a skeleton sat, alone upon a hill. He was tall as thin with a bow tie. Jack Skeleton, bat bow tie. Jack Skeleton was his name. He was tired and bored in Halloween land. Everything was always the same. Did I make any errors?
Just don't worry about that. Keep going.
I'm sick of the scaring, the terror, the fright. I'm tired of being something that goes bump in the night. I'm bored with leering my horrible glance, and my feet hurt from dancing those skeleton dances. I don't like graveyards. I need something new. There must be more to life than just yelling boo when you see yeah, except I don't know what to do.
You're okay. Keep going.
Then out from a grave with a curl and a twist came a whimper, whining spectacle, spectral mist. It was a little ghost dog with a faint little bark and a jack-o'-lantern nose that glowed in the dark. It was Jack's dog Zero, the best friend he had, but Jack hardly noticed, which made Zero sad.
Go.
You're taking the book away from me. All the night and through the next day, he wondered and walked it. He filled with dismay. Then deep in the forest, just before night, Jack came upon an amazing sight. Not 20 feet from the spot where he stood, were 3 massive doorways carved in the wood. He stood before them completely in awe, his gaze transfixed by the special door. Entranced and excited with a slight sense of worry, Jack opened the door with a white flurry, went to a white windy flurry.
All right.
Can you make any errors?
Just a couple, but we'll talk about them. So you did really good. Using the prompt of the reader, we'll go over some of those little small things, okay? Just a couple small things. So here's a word that I underlined. The word is spectral.
How was I supposed to know that word? How was I supposed to know
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay? So the word is spectral. Let's read the sentence together. Ready? Top sentence up here. Ready? Together. Let's go.
Out from a
grave with a curl and a twist came a whimpering, whining, spectral mist. Good job. All right. Here's a word that I underlined. The word is walked.
Walked?
Yep. This one you added some sounds to the end of. So let's read it together. You said walked it did.
No, I just said walked.
You just did now. Well, when you were reading, you said walked it did. It's okay. Let's read it together. You ready? All that together. All that night and through the next day, Jack wandered and walked. He was filled with dismay. Good job. And here is the final word that I underlined. They are. These are all small little errors. There's nothing wrong with it. This is how we learn. Making errors is how we learn, bud. There's nothing wrong with making errors.
You made 0 errors.
I know, because I'm a very strong reader. I've been doing it for a very long time. You're still a learning reader, so it takes you a little longer. So you learn from these errors. It's not like it's a bad thing. I make errors when I read appropriate text for me, too. But this text is something that I can do very easily because I'm a strong reader.
You only made 1 real error.
Okay, let's keep focusing on you, okay? You ready? You ready? You gotta pay attention. Olivia, this is how we learn. We don't have to be upset. This is how we learn when we're reading, okay? So this last one that I said is right here. It says his gaze transfixed by one special door. What you said was his gaze transfixed by the special door. So you added a word that wasn't there and you skipped over one. So you just used the wrong word and you added one. That's okay. Sometimes when we're reading, we just add our own words because we think that's what it's going to say, and that's not what it says. So let's read this last one together, okay? So he stood before them. Olivia, read with me.
I'm watching.
Not watch, read with me, okay? Ready? He stood in. Read with me.
He stood
before them completely in awe, his gaze transfixed by one special door. Good job. See, those were all the small little errors I noticed, okay?
They were big.
They were not big.
What
You
is
didn't miss
big?
sentences, you didn't skip pages or anything. You just made some small errors that you can learn from, okay? That's how you become better readers. So this is how you can listen to, or this is how you can read with somebody else to make your reading stronger, okay? Because sometimes we don't even notice the errors we make, but if you read with somebody else, it helps to make you a more fluent reader, okay? Does that make sense to you? So when you're reading with somebody else and you have them checking for things that you might skip or when you say words incorrectly, it helps you become a stronger reader. Okay? So, how well did you understand what we read? Like how
Are we done?
comfortable, not yet. How well did you understand what we read together? Like how well do you know
5.
what happened out of the story?
5.
Your choices are you understood all of it, you understood some of it, and you understood none of it. And what I mean when I say understand, how do you understand like what happened in the story? What
Half of it.
you understand some of it? You're comfortable with some of it? Because we're gonna read some questions and we gotta know
I'm comfortable with all of it.
you're comfortable with all of it, are you sure? Because I can read it one more time if you need me to. Okay. So here's some comprehension questions that if we were a normal group, we wouldn't know the answer to, but since I read the story a few times to make sure it was appropriate for you, I know the answer to, so I'm going to ask you them, okay? But if you understood the reading like you said you did, then you'll have no problem with these, okay? Ready? How does Jack feel about Halloween Land in the beginning of the story?
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it. Why doesn't he like it?
Because it got old and his feet hurt and he was bored of just yelling boo.
He doesn't like it because he was bored. And his feet hurt from his skeleton dances. Good. Those are good details to remember out of a story. Did it help you to hear the story twice? You see how reading a story twice helps us understand more about it.
Mm-hmm.
When we hear the story more than one time, we can remember certain details, right? So do you think it's easier to just read a story one time and answer questions, or read it multiple times and remember more?
Multiple times because you get better at reading it.
Right, you get better at reading, and when you're not focused on the reading itself, you can remember the details, right? Does that make sense? When you read it a second time, you understand the words, you understand everything that's going to come up, so you can focus more on what the words are actually saying, right? What is the name of Jack's dog?
Do I have as much time as I need?
Yeah.
0.
We didn't need much time at all.
I couldn't remember. I thought you were Jack.
No, it's Jack's dog, 0. What was the white, windy flurry Jack is hit with when he opens the door in the
Snow.
forest? Snow.
I answered that one faster.
How do you know it was snow?
Because he went into the Christmas store because I watched the movie.
The movie, you cheater. Because he went to Christmas Land. It was in the book, though, too, if you saw the picture. And I'm sure the next page is going to show us that he went into Christmas Land.
Wait, we're going on?
Nope. I just wanted to use a small part of that book to work with.
Plus, I already read the book.
Well, I know you've read the book, but this was a great way to point out how we can look for errors in each other's reading and how reading a text multiple times makes it easier to understand it. So what did you take away from reading together? Like what are the big ideas you took away from this lesson?
I don't understand that.
What did you learn from this lesson?
I learned
Sit up, please. Talk to
I'm
me.
thinking.
I know. Please sit up and put your feet down. Yeah, you can. You can sit like a normal human being.
How can this is cold?
It's not cold. Just sit up and talk to me. What did you learn from the lesson today? What did we talk about right in the beginning?
What errors are?
Yeah, what kinds of errors can happen, right, when we're reading?
Mm-hmm.
And we learned how to identify those errors, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the kinds of errors again? Remind me.
Skipping and taking.
Skipping a word, taking too long. What are those other two we talked about?
Did I already put down skipping?
Yep, you put skipping. Instead of
Adding words.
adding a word.
I forgot the last one.
When you use the wrong
Wrong word.
word.
Like if you say, I ate all of the butchers in the wood instead of,
Apples.
no, orchard. So
Oh.
butcherd.
Yeah, something like that. So using the wrong word instead. So using the wrong word, adding a word, skipping a word, and taking too long. Those are the 4 big errors that we make while reading. So you've learned how to identify those how to recognize those pretty easily when somebody else is reading or when you're reading, right?
Are you okay, Dad?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little heartburn. What else did we learn today?
I don't know.
What happens when you read the same text more
You
than
get
once?
better at it. And
How do you get better?
because you remember more of it.
And what does that allow you to do when you remember more of it?
Get more questions right.
Yeah, you get more questions right, and you get more questions right because you get more questions right because you understand what the story is actually saying, right? Because you're spending less time trying to figure out what the words are, and you can focus on what they're saying, right? So you're spending less time struggling to say the word and struggling to figure out what the word is, and you're spending more time spending more time on what the story is actually telling you, right? Does that make sense? How comfortable are you with the whole partner reading and reading, identifying reading errors?
20.
20? What does that mean? I didn't even give you a scale. What does 20 mean?
It means I'm 20 out of 1.
20 out of 1?
Mm.
How about 1 through 10?
10.
You're 10? You're very comfortable with it?
Mm.
All right. Thank you for working so hard today.
We're ready to get Jamie and Peggy.